Hello, I'm making sure this recording works. It works. Great. Welcome to this video response to a great question in our discussions here in Math 243, course 14062 from Portland Community College. One of our class members had a great question that I'm just going to share. Um, how am I going to share it? I don't want to reveal the person's identity to the public on YouTube, so I'll just read the question. Hello, I can't figure out how to get the text box into the histogram plot correctly. I skipped the title. It's called Geogebra Issues. Hello, I can't figure out how to get the text box into the histogram plot correctly. I figured out that you can copy the histogram plot to the graphics view where there is a text box option, but from there I can't figure out how to rotate the text box. And I'm pretty sure this isn't the way that you're supposed to complete a specific problem from one of our worksheets that we have in our course. I'm guessing that you're supposed to have the text box in the histogram view, but it is certainly not easy for me to figure out how to do this correctly. Any thoughts? Oh yeah, I've got thoughts. And they're a little too complicated to type up, so that's why I'm making this video. I want to open something up, so I'm going to pause. Can I pause this live stream and set something up for me? Let me see. No, I can't pause it. All right. Well, I'm going to go look at the problem they were working on. It was 3B from the practice worksheet for module 2 in this course. So I'm going to head that direction, and then I'm going to share my screen with y'all so this video is a little more useful. All right. Practice worksheet for this week. There you go. Module 2 participation worksheet. Our question asker was talking about 3B. Let's look at it. Blank worksheet. How about the PDF format? Let's open that in a tab so we can peek at it right here next door to what I'm looking at. 3B. Open the data spreadsheet for this section of people killed by police in the US. Click on the second tab and you can analyze the data set. Okay, let me just go ahead and do that. I'll follow along with you. So I'm going to go to our data spreadsheet, go to that module, and we'll analyze the ages of these folks in Oregon. Here we go. Oh, whoops, did I just do the wrong thing? You can tell I'm not a student in this class in this video. I just, there's the Google Sheet format. That's the best for us. Okay, it mentioned at the bottom, head on down to Oregon shootings in module 2, and the goal is to analyze these ages. Let's analyze the exact same data set that our question asker was looking at using GeoGebra. Okay, bonus use of this video, if you'd like to see how to set up GeoGebra to analyze numerical data, check this out. Here I go. I'm going to start by heading to geogebra.org/classic. The classic version of GeoGebra is my favorite for data analysis. When I land here, I've got a lot of data about ages, so I want a spreadsheet to store those data values and analyze them. They're over here living in the fatal police shootings data Google Sheet downloaded December 31st, 2020, module 2 Oregon shootings page. Whole column, copy it. You can see the dashed line means I've got a copy there. And in the spreadsheet, I've just got to be careful to select the first cell, blue frame, and paste at that point. Pasting can go wrong from spreadsheet to spreadsheet sometimes. Just be careful when you're doing that kind of work. Light them all up. by selecting the column name A, tap any column, you select the entire column. And then to do data analysis and make graphs here in Geogebra, for anyone who's reviewing or anything like that, there you go. It's this lovely little button above the data set. It's called the data analysis menu. We've only got one column of data there. We're going to do one variable analysis. Ta-da! And there we have what our question asker was referring to earlier. Wait, actually, let me get that question available somewhere else for me to see while we're working. Okay. I'm going to reopen up that discussion so I can see it while we talk. No, I'm not going to edit the boring parts of the video out. Just fast forward if it's boring. All right, there's the good question right there. Okay, so once you've got a histogram like this, the idea is how do we label things well? Like how do we get good labels on this thing? Also, you might want to sort out the settings of the graph a little more. Some people have some trouble finding support for that. Let me show you another important GeoGebra thing. If this is not new to you, or doesn't help with the question asker, just fast forward through some of this boring stuff. We'll get to your question. But I want for people who are just watching this for interest to know when you're in the GeoGebra graphing world for data, that little gear is the settings. Always tap on that to set things up to your liking visually. They're always just going to make 5 bins or classes or intervals for the data set automatically. They usually don't have easy to read or understand borders. So I like to select this set classes manually option, first option here in the histogram settings. As soon as you've set that, look up there. Now we have a starting age, 0. Well, that's as low as an age can go. And then a width, you can pick an age range you like. In a data set like this, maybe every 10 years of ages would be good. People in their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, etc. in these data are now represented in the histogram and an easy to read format. Other cool things you can set up here. I don't worry about the class rule. I just leave that to GeoGebra. Counts are usually the most popular thing to display on the vertical axis there, but you can switch that to relative frequencies if you like. There they're looking like hundreds, so about 27% of these cases were between age 30 and 40. Or if you go back to counts, that's about 24 actual cases as a number. But the one I like down here in the show zone, you have frequency table as well. That shows you the actual counts of the number of cases that fall into each age range. It's cool and useful to have that in front of my eyeballs sometimes in my work. So there you go. All that being said, my settings are done. I've got this nice table, but I want to label this thing. Okay. What I actually do in real life to label GeoGebra graphs is usually I'm working on my work somewhere else, like in a Google Doc. What I do is I export the graph as a picture. Ding, ding, I've got a GeoGebra image up there in my downloads. I drop that into the doc where I'm doing my work, and I just type a brief caption or label right there. I didn't set up a doc for this little video before I started making it. I would just export this over to a doc and I'd type above or below the graph, Oregon police killings 2020. That's it. That's what I do. Okay, so first thought about the question of labeling things in GeoGebra is it's not really a big deal. You can always label your graphs wherever you end up storing them in documents. So that's the first take. But let's check out the ideas from the question because the person who asked put in some work to figure this out, and I want to just double check their ideas. Uh, just because I always export things out into my doc first and then label it doesn't mean we shouldn't investigate how to do it here in GeoGebra. Their idea was to copy the plot to the graphics view. That's a classic one. See, that's the other option there in export up there. And this is where you can do text boxes and things in GeoGebra. So when you switch to graphics view, things change. Now, instead of, oh, sorry, it's not showing my graph. It's over there. Oh, look at that's a mess. Look what happened. I've got my frequencies here, and I've got this graph, but it looks terrible because the way the graph got sized, this horizontal axis is like way, way, way too, well, it starts down there in the negative numbers that I don't care about. And then the scale is way too, like no one is ever going to be age 2200. So I've got to stretch this out. I think I can tap control, no, not control click, shift and select. No, alt and select. Oh, come on, right click. Oh, oh, how do I change that? Look at me. See how I don't do this very often? I'm going to go up into, oh, I know it's one of these. Shift and control? Oh, yeah, look at that. I'm using a device where I hit shift and control. And look, now I have some, if I get that there. Oh, come on. There you go. Wait, please. Shift and alt, control and alt. This is an embarrassing video that I'm probably not going to share. Or maybe I will. Let's go to the settings right here. I'm peeking into my settings for GeoGebra. Hey, friend, show me. Is it that one? The zoom in and zoom out things. I think we're going to want that move graphics view. Drag around. Oh, look what I found. I got it. This crossed arrows, move graphics view. Check that out. Drag white background or the axis. I think if I just grab an axis now, look at that. In this move graphics view, that little controller, I can grab that axis and stretch it out. Hey, that's classy. Look at that. That looks really good. Okay, now I've got a lovely histogram. And as noted before, one of the options here, among all these options above, there's tons of graphics options, moving things around, drawing with a pen, all sorts of geometric options to make points, to explore lines and segments, to do geographical constructions. If you love geometry, GeoGebra is really cool. Building polygons, circles, etc., etc. And as you keep cruising through the list, you end up at that A equals 2 notice, and A equals 2, and right there's your text option. Clickety clack. We can select position or existing point. I'm just going to tap right there and write uh, Oregon police killings, 2020. Simplest label I could think of off the top of my head. Tap OK. Close that out of my way. And looky there, I've got a lovely label down there on that axis. Can you see why I prefer to go and just take the graph before and dump it in my doc? I would have been done with this if I was messing with my doc. Now, of course, if you want the vertical axis labeled as well, what I would do is I just type in there, number or count in my text box. So fresh text box over here on the vertical axis. I'll type in number of people police killed. Just straightforward description. Tap OK. And now it doesn't look like the greatest box in the world. It's as our question asker notes, I can't figure out how to rotate the text box. And you know what I'd say? You don't have to worry about it. You can take your text box, move it around a little if you like. If you can make it thinner or wider and you want to, you can mess with it. But just as long as it's anywhere in this zone where you can read it, you're in pretty good shape. So if you can read the dang box, that's good enough. Sorry, I keep accidentally clicking things, but to me, that's good enough. The number of police, people killed, that's there, labeled there. Oregon police killings 2020, that's there. That's good enough. Any further dreams of good graphical design, I would just let go of because we're just getting homework done and we're just taking notes. So, but if anybody was curious about messing with GeoGebra's graphics view, uh, the big two things I've learned messing with it today are if you'd like to label things here in GeoGebra, those labels are under this menu that looks like that if you select nothing, the slider menu. But the second option is text for text box. So that's where I do that. And if you want to change how the scales look in either direction, grab this double cross move graphics view. You can make the graph less tall, more tall by changing the y-axis. You can make it less thin, sorry, less wide or more wide. changing the x-axis scale. You can move the whole graph around as you like to make sure that your lovely labels fit somewhere nice. All right. I hope that little video helps answer the question asker. Again, I would have just skipped all this graphics view stuff and dumped either a screenshot or the exported picture into a Google Doc or any other document format I like to type in. Hmm. Now, what am I going to say to introduce this thing over in the discussions response? Well, I'll think about that in a minute. Have a good one.